No, I'm not letting you out until you stop threatening me with the toothbrush.
It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Well, I can't believe for the first time we've had to put lights on everywhere so that you can actually see me. We are recording this in daylight, believe it or not. Normally I record in the mornings, but I couldn't this morning because I had an appointment, so I'm recording in the afternoon. This morning it was absolutely beautiful, bright sunshine streaming through the windows, much warmer than I expected it to be. This afternoon, it's so dull, it's like there's a grey blanket been thrown over the house. So we've had to put some lights on so that you can see me. Right, let's crack straight on then with our favourite fact for a Friday. And I have to be honest and say, I didn't actually write anything down, but I'm going to go through the pretence of getting this little card out of here just for the purposes of regularity and conformity with what we normally do on a Friday. And I'll just stare at this blank piece of paper and pretend that I'm reading this out while doing it from memory. And I have to say that this fact comes from the Bug Park in Norfolk, where I went last weekend and had a very nice day. And I read this on the wall and it amazed me in the spider section. So here we go. This week's fun fact for a Friday. The total weight of insects that are eaten by spiders around the world each year is 725 million tonnes. For comparison, the total amount of meat and fish eaten by all humans around the world every year is 400 million tonnes. So spiders are consuming nearly twice the weight of insects that we are eating in other animals and fish. I found that quite remarkable, and it scared me to think about what would happen and how it would be overrun if we didn't have any spiders. So after that, let's go on to the purple card, which of course now has its own theme song. The tallest building in London, I believe, is still the Shard. Let's see what is written on the purple card. I like the way I've crammed myself in a corner next to this new Door of Delight, which means it's really hard for me to play the guitar and then come up with a complicated chord structure that I have to try and play in this confined space. So the purple card is just something I carry around with me, and I write little stuff down on it. And what I've got written down on here is 10 words. Well, 12 words in fact, but 10 words in particular. Because what I've decided I'm going to start doing is give you like my week in 10 words. So at this point in the show every week, I will give you a list of 10 words or a 10-word phrase that sums up the previous 7 days and how they've been for me. So it could be a list, it could be a description, it could be a paragraph, it could be a quote from something that I've done. People have said to me that I don't often talk about myself and my own life because I don't really like doing that, believe it or not, after last week's story about the overdose. But I mean, I'm terrible at this stuff, I've got to be honest. I'm very, very busy and I'm really bad at letting people know what I'm up to. I've got a work website that is about 2 years out of date. I have a work Facebook page that I think I've put 3 things on since the start of the summer, despite working 5 or 6 days every week. So I'm really bad at this stuff, so I'm going to try and get better at it. And maybe this is part of it, that I can every week give you an update of what I've been up to, and it'll remind me what I've been up to, and maybe then I'll get better at advertising myself and letting people know what I've been doing. So my word in 10 weeks for this week: family, bugs, London, John Lennon, Jimmy Stewart, open mic, this. Those are my 10 words for the last 7 days. And I'm not actually going to explain any of them, so it shows you I'm not getting all that much better. But that's because I want to get down to the next thing that's written down. 2 more words on the purple card, and those words are peanut and butter. And if you put those together, it gives you the phrase peanut butter. And something I've said about doing for ages, and I've decided we're going to do it this week, is like a peanut butter taste test. I did this with Marmite in the past. I love food and I love trying different things, and I like putting things together that most people would normally turn their stomach and turn their nose at, and I like to try them out. So I decided to do it with peanut butter. So I've selected 5 things that, as far as I know, have probably never been tried with peanut butter before, and I'm going to try them so you don't have to. And then if they go well, maybe we can market them together and make a whole thing out of it. So with this camera position, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to bring it down so I can show you the little setup that I've got here. So we have a plate here with our foodstuffs that I have chosen. What we have are segments of a satsuma, a large chunk of crystallized ginger, a pre-cooked chipolata sausage, a fig roll, one of the finest biscuits for dunking, and this little medical pot has some Rice Krispies in. I did think about other cereals, but I thought with The thing about Rice Krispies, I think I was going to go with cornflakes, but they do sort of crunchy nut cornflakes, and they try it, you know, so I thought it was a bit too similar. So I've gone with the Rice Krispies, which I don't think anyone would ever think about putting a peanut butter flavouring into. So I have gone with a jar of smooth peanut butter. I know there's a crunchy type and a chunky type, but with the problems I've had with my teeth, probably not a good idea for me to be biting down on big lumps of peanuts. I've got a glass of water, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to try these in order, let you know what they are like, and maybe between us we can come up with a new culinary mark of genius. So I'm going to start with the satsuma segments. I've gone for a couple of segments, and I'm going to give them a healthy dose of peanut butter. And the reason I'm going for this one first is that I have a suspicion deep within me that this might be the most horrible one of all. So I'm going to try it, and then I'll let you know what it's like. Bon appetit. Okay, it's not as bad as the Marmite on a kiwi, but it's not a pleasant experience. Because of the way I put it on, and then I put the peanut butter on my tongue, I've got the flavour of the peanut butter straight away, and then bit into the satsuma, and that acidic juice has kind of... That one wasn't great. I'm just going to get rid of that. So yeah, if you're eating a satsuma at the moment and you've got a jar of peanut butter beside you, I think my eyes are watering. I would not necessarily go for that. I think if we're going to mark them, and I'm not, but I will for now, I would give that no more than a 3 out of 10 for something that I would recommend. So let's go with the fig roll then, which I think is the most likely one for this to be a winner. And I'm assuming, I'm going to show my ignorance, I don't know what is in a fig roll. I'm assuming it's something to do with figs. But whether it's just figs that have been crushed down, or whether it is actually lumps of fig, I don't know. But this strikes me as something that might go well. And if you look at the design of the fig roll, if you imagine a nice layer of peanut butter inside that, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? So I'm going to try this. Oh. That, my friends, is what we call a winner. That is the most elegant horse you've ever seen racing, dancing on the back of your tongue. No, I don't know what I mean by that either. That's a definite 8.5, possibly a 9. That is absolutely gorgeous. And I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, because they've done things like, they've put peanut butter into things like Kit Kats, haven't they? You can get a Kit Kat chunky with peanut butter. So it's probably going to work, but that is an absolute winner. Right, let's get some protein into this thing then. With the sausage, I'm going to dunk it straight in the jar. Let's be really, really uncouth about this. I have no idea what this would be like. I don't see there's any reason why you couldn't spread peanut butter onto things before you put them on a barbecue, maybe. So let's find out. I think the word that's springing to my mind is no. I can't quite describe why it's such a resounding no, to be honest. And I know that's not great when I'm supposed to be reporting to camera, but it's not like this is a cooking show. It's just not nice. It's just not nice. Whether it's because the sausage has been in the fridge for a couple of days after being cooked, I have no idea. But I'm not giving that much above a 4 out of 10. I mean, I think so far you've got the fig roll at the top as a winner, then the sausage is just above the satsuma. So do I go with the ginger now, or do I go with the rice crackles? Rice crackles, that's what they're called, because they're a cheap version of Rice Krispies. Okay, I'm going to go with these, because I think, again, I don't see why this wouldn't work, because you do people make those lovely cakes that you get at bake sales and school things with that are made with Rice Krispies, right? And they quite often have chocolate on them as well, so this shouldn't be too much of it. So those are in there, and then that's going in there. So you're now going to see me eat off a knife as well. I mean, it didn't come from a tin, but it's doing exactly what it says on the tin. So I can taste Rice Krispies with peanut butter. And maybe if you were going to make a cake and use this as part of the recipe, it would work. I wouldn't be replacing the milk on your breakfast cereal with peanut butter. Let's put it that way. I don't know. That's not great either. I'm going to give that maybe a 5. I think when I did the Marmite taste test, it was much clearer one way or the other, wasn't it? Either it was absolutely fantastic or it was absolutely horrible, which I guess is what Marmite is supposed to do, isn't it? Because they say you either love it or you hate it. But with this, it just seems to be a very, very strange, it's sort of something with the texture as well. And I should remember, because when I was a lot younger, I didn't eat peanut butter for years, absolutely years. Just the texture of it in my mouth made me feel quite sick. And then weirdly enough, one day I just suddenly thought, out of nowhere, fancy peanut butter on toast. And since that day, my friends, it's been a regular part of my diet. But yeah, it's something about the texture mixing with other things that doesn't work. So what we've got left is a lump of crystallised ginger. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't have much left in the cupboard and I couldn't be bothered to go out to the shop when the weather was turning bad. So I think you're supposed to use this in cooking. What I have done occasionally is put it in a mug of hot water because it makes a very nice drink for your throat. I don't think you're supposed to just eat it straight from the packet. I've never done that. I imagine it's a very strong ginger taste. So we're going to try and drown it out with some peanut butter. In fact, I'll give this a slightly more healthy dollop. Ginger, as I'm sure I've mentioned before, always been one of my favourite flavours. Peanuts, very high on the list as well. So putting the two together, we hope will create a thing of beauty. I'll see you on the other side. Well, the taste of ginger, which I love, is overpowering everything. And again, I think what I've learned from this today, and hopefully you will learn too, is that the peanut butter texture is the thing that creates the issue. It's not the mix of flavours, it's not the taste of the peanut butter per se, it's that kind of creamy texture that it has that just doesn't mix with a lot of things. Even the sausage, so like lumps of meat with the peanut butter, not a nice feeling in your mouth. The Rice Krispies, that was a weird mix as well. The fig roll is the one that really worked, and I'm going to go back to that as soon as I turn the camera off. But the satsuma and the ginger, the things that were more fruity, more natural, and also softer, it just feels really, really unpleasant. So my conclusion from that is, if you want me to put them in a list, fig roll by far at the top, then the ginger, then the rice snaps, then the sausage, and finally the satsuma, which no one should ever try, and I probably shouldn't have either, but I wanted to give it a go. So there you go, that's our little taste test done. What will the next food item be that I decide to spread on some weird things? Stay tuned and I'll do another one later in the series. So let's find out. No, we're not going to find out what we're going to wear next week. We're going to do interactive Gregonori first. Just let me get this out of my mouth. Peanut butter, what a great idea when you've got to try and talk clearly for 10 minutes afterwards. So Gregonori is our little story that we're building up week by week. We gave you the title, A Beautiful Day for Gordon Grape. John wrote chapter 1, IC wrote chapter 2. Chapter 3 this week has been written by Tina, spelt with 2 E's. Thank you, Tina. So I'll read through the whole lot and then you can come up with chapter 4 ready in time for next week. So here we go. A Beautiful Day for Gordon Grape, the story so far. Gordon Grape wasn't your average fruit. He was plump, purple and proud, with a glossy skin that shimmered like polished amethyst. He lived in the lush vineyard of Willow Vale, nestled between rolling hills and kissed daily by the golden sun. But today wasn't just any day. Today was perfect. Then came the moment. Unexpectedly, the wind came howling through the valley. Gordon tried in vain to cling to his vine, but the strength of the gusts ripped him from his home and carried him away to adventure. Tossed and tattered, thrown and blown, sent hither and yon and scared for his life, Gordon felt his skin begin to peel as the torrent of weather continued, until finally, thankfully, happily, the wind settled down, and Gordon was deposited in a field in a land he had never seen before. Over to you for the next instalment, and I don't know about anybody else, but I think maybe it's time for Gordon to have a nice break. He's been through quite a bit already, and yes, it's good for a character to go through adversity and then to triumph so that you're on his side and you'd like to see him do well. And maybe it's time now for him to turn that corner and have something nice happen. Over to you for chapter 4, and I'll let you know what that is next week. So let's do our little choices of chance then. So I'm going to throw the dice first of all, and I have made a change. I think the yellow shirt, we've seen it enough times already this series, so the yellow shirt has now been replaced by my hippie shirt, which was brand new, bought this morning. So we toss that up in the air, we roll it around, and then we see what colours we have, and that is blue. So next week I will be wearing my black shirt, which is another one I've worn a few times already. Over the top of that, whatever's in column black, which on here is, oh, it's because it's white on the other cube, but we've gone back to this one. So I'll be wearing nothing over the top of the black shirt. And to accessorise that, next week, it's black again, which will be a scarf. So a black shirt, there'll be a scarf, there'll be nothing over the top of that. Will my hair be up or down? Let us find out. I have to say it's easier when it's up because it looks better and it doesn't get in the way. I looked at that and I shouldn't have, so let me toss that again. The coin toss to determine what the hair will be has given us heads again. So my hair will be flowing down luxuriously. I am going to take the lid back off the peanut butter, spread a massive dollop on what's left of the fig roll, and this will be my reward for recording another Daylight Midnight show despite a tiring week and a difficult day and terrible lighting. I will see you next week. Have a great 7 days.